Well, the history really goes back to the 1950s when population growth became an issue of major concern in the West. And it was an issue for a number of valid and important reasons. So we had estimates showing that people were living longer than ever before, in part because of advances in public health. They weren't dying from diseases like tuberculosis around the world in as great of numbers. But at the same time, the UN had released estimates for the first time showing what the population would look like 20 or 30 years out. And people became very concerned. On both the right and the left in the US, there was a kind of budding interest in doing something and coming up with strategies to control the population around the world. But one of the strategies that was put on the table in the late 60s was to actually ensure women a way to have a son. So research had shown that one of the reasons that women in parts of Asia continued to have children was that they wanted a boy. And so the idea was then, well, why not guarantee them a way to have a son on the first try? So then by the time ultrasound got to the point where it could determine the sex of a fetus in the second trimester in the early 1980s, there was really pent-up demand for this technology. And there was, at the same time, very high abortion rate in Asia, in part because of Western involvement. So really, you added those two things together, and what you got was explosive rates of sex selection. Beginning in the early 80s in South Korea, in Taiwan, China, India. Now, today, we have a total of 160 million women missing from the population in Asia. So huge, huge gap.